You are now listening to the Real Table Podcast with Michael Carter.
Come Christmas. Welcome to the Real Table Podcast. And it's Christmas time. It's Christmas time. It's finally that time. It's honestly crazy how fast the year has gone. Because just yesterday, it felt like it was Christmas. Like it felt like we were just celebrating the holidays and then the new year, and now 2024 is just about done. Right? We're getting there to the end of the year, and man, it's been a crazy year. I know for me, it's been a really good year, but beyond that, it's Christmas time, and Christmas at the table is finally here. This episode was supposed to come out a day ago, but I got busy at work. We had a busy day on Tuesday, and I could not record. And I was like, I'm just gonna have to push it back. And so we're here talking about the Grinch, and not just the Grinch, but two Grinch movies, right? Two Grinch movies. The Grinch is, I think one could say, I think this character is iconic. Phenomena, as someone would say. Dr. Seuss created this character way back when as a children's story, and it became an animated children's movie. That was a while ago. That'd have to be 1966 television special. And then 2000, they decided, let's do a live action feature film. And then again later, they said, let's readapt it again, because that's what we do nowadays in Hollywood. We got to readapt stuff. So let's do it again. And in 2018, we got The Grinch. So two different Grinch movies, the same character in a way. But the story is pretty much the same. It's so interesting watching the 2018 version first, and then after I watched the 2000 version, and like, it's the stark change between what each of these films are. I think these are two good examples of what an adaptation should be. If you decide that, I didn't watch the cartoon version. I didn't watch the 1966 version, but I had to believe that one was a little different too. I mean, it's different from the other two. It has to be. But that's what adaptations should be, right? And I think that's one of my biggest complaints and my problems with like stuff like The Lion King, is that the live action remake was literally shot for shot and it had no variation. Whereas here, we look at this Grinch character, you got three different versions of it, right? Same story, but different execution. And I think that's what makes these three, and I'm going to just say two because we're focused on the two, but two really, really solid. Like, we grew up, a lot of us, some of us, most people, the older generation grew up on the 1966 version. That's the Grinch that people know. But a lot of us, if you were born, I mean, in the 90s, if you were born in the 90s up until like, well, I said just the 90s, if 90s to 2000, like, you grew up on Jim Carrey as the Grinch. You grew up on the Grinch. That's your Grinch, right? And now we have a whole nother generation that's growing up with this 2018 version as well. Like just the other day, actually, was this yesterday or 2 days ago? 2 days ago, I think it's 2 days ago. My brother sent us a video in our family group chat, and it's my niece. She's almost 2. That's crazy. She's almost 2, and she was watching the 2018 version. So she's going to grow up and go, this is my Grinch, right? She's going to know this version of the Grinch, and it's going to be her Grinch. And that's what this new generation has. But it's so interesting to see the stark differences between these movies. But I'm excited to talk about them. Obviously, as you can hear, it's just me today. But it's still going to be fun. I got a lot of notes, and we're going to get through them. So before we get started, let's reminisce real quick about the 2018 Grinch movie. Let's listen back, and if you're watching, let's watch this trailer real quick. Check this out.
Illumination!
You're a mean one, Mr. Grinch. You really are a heel. You're as cuddly as a cactus. You're as charming as an eel, Mr. Grinch. You're a bad banana with a greasy black peel.
Today, we will do mean things, and we will do them in style. Oh, hello. Happy holidays. What's this?
Excuse me, are you getting that?
No.
The Grinch.
So the 2018 Grinch, directed by Scott Mosier, Yarrow Cheney. It was obviously it's based off of Dr. Seuss's book from 1957 book, How the Grinch Stole Christmas. And what's different from the 2018 version to the 2000 version? The 2000 version, its complete title is How the Grinch Stole Christmas. This film, it is just The Grinch, right? Or also known as Dr. Seuss's The Grinch. There's a stark difference, right? There's a clear difference, and obviously, Illumination. By the way, is the studio. You have to make a stark difference. People know how iconic Jim Carrey's Grinch is, and if you were to search up the Grinch, that one's gonna pop up, or the classic version. So it's like, how do we keep it different? How do we make sure that it's different, right? And so this name is specific to this movie, even though we refer to the Jim Carrey film as The Grinch, because, I mean, that's what it is, but the complete title is How the Grinch Stole Christmas. But this one, 2018, The Grinch, again, based off of the 1957 book, based off of the same name. The story is the same, right? The story isn't different. You don't do too much to the story. You keep it generally the same, right? The guy named character named the Grinch, who's kind of like a Who, basically. He lives up in a mountain, and he lives, isolated from the rest of Whoville, and he hates Christmas. That's the gist of the story, and he also has a small heart. Weenie, beat small heart, right? So, what's different though from this film? By the way, I think both studios, for both Grinches, if this is a fun fact, both studios are Universal. So Universal has done the Grinch twice, basically. Or one as a live action adaptation, and one as an animated. Illumination. So Despicable Me. Let's see, Despicable Me, Secret Life of Pets. For those of you who know those titles, that's Universal. Universal owns Illumination, right? So this is Universal's second attempt, or I shouldn't say attempt, second time doing the Grinch story. And obviously when they did it, they knew that they had to do something different about it, right? Talks began, I think talks about doing The Grinch again had been circulating for a while. I don't know how long, but there was rumblings for a minute that this was something that they wanted to do. And if I'm not mistaken, I'll have to find it, see if I can find it. But the Seuss estate, his widow, Dr. Seuss's widow, is over his estate, and I'm pretty sure she did not like the Jim Carrey version. I don't see it here. I should have pulled that up before I started recording this, but I'm pretty sure she did not care for it, and she was actually not about it and was disappointed in it. I'll have to look for the article. I have to see if there's somewhere. But beyond that, they knew they had to do something different. We'll talk about why they had to do something different with the 2000 version. But with this one, I think they had to tailor it more to the original product, the original story, the original book in a way, right? And so that's what they did. And also, thinking about the two films, there's a stark contrast on tone, right? I think the 2000 version gives us a more live approach, live action approach in the Seuss world. Like, it feels more real and grounded in a way, right? Like, it feels like Whoville, if it existed, it exists in its own little thing, where this one, you tell instantly that it's not trying to be a realism take on the story, right? I hope that makes sense for people. So instantly, when the movie starts, you get a narration by Pharrell Williams, right? We're used to a narration in the other one. This one's by Pharrell Williams, and Pharrell gives a light, warmful, relaxing approach to being the narrator than the other narrator in the 2000 film. It's really, really interesting, and that sets the standard for the whole film. Like, if you watch it, you like, this is not the one that you remember. This is not the one you grew up with. It's not, right? There's a different tone, and we see that displayed throughout the whole movie. And I think this one definitely feels more true to the story. The Grinch, if I'm not mistaken, again, I don't want to bring too much of the 2000 in this, because I'll do my own breakdown on that soon. But this character, the Grinch, I felt like Benedict Cumberbatch, who voices the Grinch, by the way, Benedict Cumberbatch, I think he brings the what Dr. Seuss had in mind for the Grinch, for the character, what you think about as the Grinch, right? We've come to know for 24 years. It's been 24 years since the 2000 version, and I think we've come to know that version of what the Grinch is. But I think this version in this animated movie is what Dr. Seuss had in mind when he wrote the story. And I could be a little wrong, but I think this is what he had in mind. But yeah, the film feels very catered to the kids in a way. It's very not. It doesn't have a thrill in it. It feels like a children's movie that's telling a story. It's telling a storybook, right? So very interesting approach from Universal and Illumination, but I think they knew that going in. They're like, we got to separate ourselves, and so this, in my opinion, is the best way to separate themselves. I love it. In the sense, though, I wish I would have saw a little bit more thrill in the story, a little bit more scary coming out in the story. But in a sense, I had to go back and go, the Grinch. He was grumpy and he was evil, but I don't know if I would say the Grinch was ever scary, right? He was ever scary, quote unquote, right? So a big difference for this film is Cindy Lou Who. The Cindy Lou Who character is very, very different. One of the things that they also they approached with this film is the modernization of the film, of it being more modern. It's more modern. We see technology, we see jokes that feel modern. Like, it is a modern approach to this story, and Cindy Lou Who is that in a sense too, right? The things that she does, the things that she says. Her character, though, it's a complete departure from what we know as Cindy Lou Who. Like, this Cindy Lou Who is, I think she has a little bit more boldness to her character, right? She's not very, I won't say somber is the right word. She's just more out there in this. She's bold. She's a feisty young little girl that has her sights set on delivering a letter to Santa, which again is, I don't know if I'm not mistaken, it's not in the original book either. So hearing that, the Santa aspect, delivering this letter aspect, is like, oh, that threw me for a loop as an add into the story, right? And along the way, she does meet the Grinch, which I don't know. Honestly, I think that might be my biggest issue with the film. And again, it's probably preference. I do wish I got more Grinch and Cindy Lou Who interaction. I don't think there was enough of it for me. That's what's missing in this 2018 version. Also, they decide to add in, again, this is one of those, these are sometimes there are things in animated movies that bug me. There's some animated movies that don't do this, and I love it. And then there's some animated movies that they just do these things. Like, they added an elk character named Fred. It's just very, very, like, I don't know. It feels like a weird add-in to me to add Fred. And as far as I know, I don't think Fred was even in the book or he's in the original special. Like, Fred is just, he's just an add-on. And he feels kind of like, I didn't need to be in it. Fred didn't need to be in the movie. I feel like that's also time and that's also space where you put Cindy Lou Who in there, right? More time with the Grinch and Cindy Lou Who. Also, I love this version of Max. That's the best. This is the best. This is one of the best things about animation. You can do so much more. And so when you get Max and you get the chance to animate Max, you get to see a lot of those emotions and a lot of those, actions come to life a little bit better than it would in a live action form. And I love seeing Max in this movie. Max was one of my favorite characters for sure. I just loved seeing him animated, and he felt more connected to what the Grinch story was overall. But I do think, like, the movie overall, it felt too neat. It felt too neat, and not enough risk. And I think that's the give and take. There was an approach to this, and there was an approach to this. It was focused on that kid demographic, and you can't be disappointed in that. You've got to do something, and you've got to, like, a character like this where you can sell and make money off of merchandise. You got to make sure you get the kids right. But I think I've talked about this on the podcast episodes, some episodes, about how I love seeing animated movies that really dig in and kind of get real and kind of get deep. And that love to play with that a little bit. Like, you don't have to be real and deep the whole movie, but moments and beats and storylines, right, to get deep into the Spider-Verse. Gets a little deep. Across the Spider-Verse gets deep, right? It's those moments that make that film kind of really good. Or Toy Story 3, right? There's lots of beats there where it gets real and it gets pretty emotional. So that's my problem with the 2018 version, is that it doesn't take risk. It's too neat. And it's like, okay, we're going to blow this up into a nice Christmas kids movie and call it a day, where I thought, there's a chance to do something really cool that we haven't seen with the Grinch character, and they play it too safe. They play it way too safe. But I think overall, credit what credit is due. A solid film. You cannot be mad at the 2018 Grinch. I remember walking out of it when I saw it, probably in 2018, I think. I remember walking out of the theater and like, oh, that's solid. I wanted it to be better than what it was, but it was solid. It was solid. But yeah, 2018 Grinch. I think the kids again. My niece has been eating it up a little bit. So go watch. I think the kids are gonna love it. Go check it out too, just so you can have a better understanding of where I'm going with my criticism. And if you've seen it already, you can probably either relate or maybe you have some different thoughts. As always, let me know if you're watching the video. Let me know in the comments your thoughts on the 2018 Grinch. I want to hear them. Cool. Now let's get into it.
Universal Pictures and Imagine Entertainment invite you to experience the magic of the classic story as it comes to life like you've never seen before. In a place where the Christmas spirit is everywhere.
Have the best Christmas ever!
Well, almost everywhere.
Counting down the Christmas clock. Oh, young Ishmael.
Blast this Christmas music. It's joyful and triumphant.
Jim Carrey is
The Grinch. I must stop this Christmas from coming.
from Universal Pictures
What would I wear? Ho-ho!
and Imagine Entertainment.
Forgot about the reindeer. Action! Brilliant!
Mr. Grinch, I myself am having some Yuletide doubts.
Don't care.
Maybe if you can reunite with the Who's and be a part of Christmas.
Maybe if you can reunite with the Who's and be a part of Christmas.
Grow up!
If you think you know the whole story,
What if it's all just a misunderstanding?
This could change my entire outlook on life.
Really?
No.
you don't know Grinch.
This is nuts! I'm going to throw up, and then I'm going to die!
Jim Carrey in a Ron Howard film. The Grinch.
Uh-oh, somebody's fabulous!
The OG, the one that we grew up with, not the one from the 60s. Not the one from the 60s. The one from the 2000s. Directed by Ron Howard, starring Jim Carrey. Let's talk about how the Grinch Stole Christmas. How the Grinch Stole Christmas. Where do I begin? How the Grinch Stole Christmas is one of the most ridiculous, over-the-top movies I have ever witnessed in my life. Maybe not ever, but I have one of the most, yeah, I said that right. One of the most over-the-top, ridiculous movies I've ever witnessed in my entire life. How the Grinch Stole Christmas is ridiculous. It is ridiculous, guys. It is a ridiculous film, but it's a good movie. Actually, screw it. How the Grinch Stole Christmas is a great movie. How the Grinch Stole Christmas was a great movie. It was great. Great. And what's funny, the criticism, a lot of the critics did not like this movie. They hyped up Jim Carrey, as always, but nobody really liked the movie. And here's the thing, as somebody, I'm not a scholar in film. But as somebody who does, you watch quality nowadays and you see stuff, you learn stuff. I learned some stuff in film studies. You can see why How the Grinch Stole Christmas was not received well. You just can't. Take out the Jim Carrey aspect. Think about the different scene, moments, acting. It falls flat. Jim carries that movie on his back. And for me too, this is okay. Nobody is complaining about Jim carrying the movie. Nobody has ever complained about Jim carrying the movie because guess what? Everybody loves the movie because of Jim. It works because of Jim, right? His approach to the Grinch is different, right? It's not what Dr. Seuss wrote on the paper. It's not. I can't find the article. I'm gonna find it. I'm pretty sure Dr. Seuss's widow. She was not a fan of it. I remember reading that. She just was. I don't think she just didn't like it. She just like it. So I didn't know she died in 2018. Rest in peace. Oh, wrong movie. I think it's the Cat in the Hat. That might be on me. I think she didn't like the Cat in the Hat. Yes. I don't think she liked the Cat in the Hat. I think she was disappointed with that one. Over I think the Grinch was fine. But then again, I can understand like if she didn't care for the Grinch because the Grinch is different than generally the story is the same, but Jim brings a different approach to the character. He brings just this wacky unorthodox take to the Grinch, in my opinion. Like the stuff that he does, it's like it's out of the box. It's hilarious. But furthermore, in the 2000 film, we have Pharrell opening up. Pharrell opens up the movie in the 2018 movie. He opens up the 2018 movie. But then in the 2000 movie, we have Anthony Hopkins, a truly different voice that feels like it has a little bit more weight. It's not as jolly. It's not as warm. But it does bring a little bit of a surrealness to it, too. That's just Anthony Hopkins, who's a legend in himself. That's again part of the difference of what the movies between the two movies. That's a stark difference when you open up and you're watching Anthony Hopkins narrate, and then to combine that with wacky, weird, all over the place, chaotic camera angles. Like this movie really decided to, I don't know. Like this is one of those movies where I'm curious to see how Ron Howard feels. I would love to ask Ron Howard, like if I had a chance to ask him a question right now. How do you feel looking back on The Grinch? Do you look at that as something that you enjoy seeing in your, filmography, or do you look at that and go, I hated that I made that, right? Because it's a wacky movie. It's an outlandish movie in a sense, right? And what's also funny, like if you think about it, like Whoville, the idea of Whoville, the idea of Who's, all that stuff definitely feels wacky, right? And they play through that. They play with it, with the set design, the cars, the buildings that they have. Like it's truly wild. It is out of this world. I had a chance to, when I went to Universal in LA, I got a chance to go to the backlot on the backlot tour. And so on the backlot tour, you get to see some sets that they still have, or the sets that or not just the sets. You see sets, but you see like a lot of the studio area that's still being used. Some of it is for like commercials. It's all types of stuff. But I got the chance to see that you can still see, like if you were to go on a backlot tour today, if I'm not mistaken, you can still see where they filmed the Grinch. They had the Grinch sets still up. And I don't think they took it down, but you can still see those sets. So I got to see a little bit of, the little wacky architecture that really made Whoville. So it was pretty cool to see. It did look cool. I mean, obviously 2000 compared to, I think it was maybe 20, between 2011, 2015, sometime between there is when I went. And you can, it's old. It's 14 years old. But the whole idea of it, I think the whole idea of this film is it's just crazy. It's out of this world. And Jim Carrey just brings his best. He hated every moment of being in that costume. I know he's said it. I've read articles and seen some quotes where he hated it. He hated it. I think there was a rumor that he did some kind of army test or torture test or whatever, just to survive in that suit. But he's mentioned that the suit was an issue for sure. And I think he was in the makeup chair for. I think his the timeline of him waking up to be in that makeup. It was pretty crazy. Like, he was in there for hours, and then he had to film for long periods of time. And then he had to do it all over again for like so long, which is crazy. But Jim is the best part of this movie. And I think it was too many for me to ask. I think if I had somebody else on there, we could probably try to make it work. But there's so many different funny lines, funny one-liners, moments. Like, I couldn't even get all of them on the air. But I took some notes, and "You're a Mean One," the "You're a Mean One" Mr. Grinch song. How Jim Carrey that song is. The voices that he makes in the song, the things that he's doing in this song while he's building he's constructing his Christmas suit and constructing the sleigh. It's like, it is just out of this world. It's just crazy. It's like, you're literally watching this and you're like, what am I watching? Like, what is this? You also, when he's alone, you could really tell not just how crazy the Grinch is, but how, like, in it Jim Carrey was, because he's talking to himself, and as he's talking to himself, he's talking to Max. Max is there, but in reality, Max can understand him a little bit, and so the Grinch is talking to himself, and you're like, he's doing all these crazy things up in his thing. It's just so wild, man. Just thinking about it. It's like the one scene where the Who's are down there singing, and he's sleeping, and they're singing this song, and he starts singing, and he said, "Tick tock, counting down the Christmas clock, old, young, big, small," and then he wakes up. And then he realizes he's singing this Christmas song. And then he starts to scream. And then as he screams, he goes into all these little different actions where he's trying to drown out the sound because he hates Christmas so much. It's just like, what in the name of the Lord is happening? He's on a bulldozer. No, not a bulldozer, a jackhammer. He's on a jackhammer. He's got this big old monkey toy that he turns on, and the monkey toy has cymbals, and it's crashing the cymbals back and forth, and he's just doing everything to get out this sound. That's how crazy this movie is, right? You get like 10 to 15 minutes of that type of stuff, and it's just, I don't know. It's one of the craziest movies I've ever seen. I think it literally is. The mailroom scene as well is one of my favorites. I love when this is at the beginning of the movie. He's going through town with his mask on, with his hood on, and he's being a menace. He's being a menace. That's also a difference between the 2018 version and the 2000 version, is that when the Grinch was walking through the town in the 2018 version, people are like, "Hey, Merry Christmas, Happy New Year. What's up, dude? How you doing? What's up?" And the Grinch is just, grumpy and whatever. And the 2000 version, he's, the story, he's banished. And so, not really banished. He decides to leave Whoville, basically. And instead of, because everybody has a problem with who he is, and they hate the way that he looks, and they basically discriminate against him. He wears a mask and wears a little cloak and hood, and he goes down there and he just calls him madness. And so the mailroom scene, when he goes in there just to mess up the mail, because again, he's a menace. Cindy Lou Who goes into the back to see the mail, and the Grinch hears, and he goes up and he hides. He's hiding up in the corner of the wall with Max, and I can't remember what she does, but she does whatever she does, and then she's about to leave, and then Max sneezes. He said, and he says golden tide or something like that. He says something. He says bless you in another language, basically. And then his eyes gets big because he realizes he said something. And then Cindy Lou Who turns around, and then he hops down, and she starts to scream, and then she's like, "You're the," and then he teases her and goes, the Grinch, and she screams, and he's like, "Well, that worked out nicely." And then he gives a little one of those weird, cringy, nasty smiles. And it's just chaotic. I love that scene. And then she gets, Cindy Lou Who gets trapped in the little mail thing, and then he has to pull her out. He almost leaves, and then Max is like, "Dog, you're not leaving her, bro. Get back in here. Get back in here and save her." And then he ends up saving her, and then he wraps her in wrapping paper just to leave. It's chaotic. It's crazy. It's so crazy. I think that's probably one of my favorite scenes. Love it. Also, the outfit trying on scene when he's trying on an outfit, and he's trying a bunch of stuff, couldn't find anything, and he's just like, I'm not going, because he's being the Grinch, and he's like, I'm not going. And then he's like, I don't have any outfit, and then he thinks about the yodel dude who's just yodeling, which is again one of the most randomest things that can happen is happening in this movie. A random yodel dude is yodeling in the mountains, and he decides to take the yodel dude and take his outfit, and he puts it on, and he starts modeling, and he's like, "Ooh, that's it. I'm not going." And then he walks away. And Jim Carrey, as a Grinch, is as he is, you know who he is. He is in the role. He's in this role, and he is posing it up. And then he goes, "I'm not going," and he walks away, like the Grinch does. Hilarious. That's one of my favorite parts of the movie as well. But that's just like that movie. That is all that movie is. Like, if you got one favorite funny moment that you can remember, there's there's 32 more in that movie. Like everything people say, the things people say, the things that they do, the whole who wills, the jubilation type thing. Like, it's all just wackiness. And I think, like, even though it's a little bit of the nostalgia in me, probably not a little bit, it's a lot of the nostalgia, but I still think it works. I think the movie works. It still holds up, and it's funny, it's chaotic, but you have to embrace it. You can't, you have to embrace that this is what this movie is. And in a sense, I kind of make a fun of the idea of being a Who and that whole world. Not mocking Dr. Seuss and what he made, but like they're having a lot of fun with that. Another thing that we discussed about the 2018 version was Cindy Lou Who, how much of a stark difference there was between her in the 2018 version and 2000 version. And in the 2000 version, we get a more softer Cindy Lou Who is still bold. She's just bold in a different way. She believes in the Grinch. She does not discriminate in the Grinch. She's an ally. Appreciate you, Cindy Lou Who. She's an ally, but she's bold. It's just very different compared to the 2018 version. The 2018 version is she's bold, but she's like loud, and she's got like a spark in her. Like, she's got a feistiness to her, right? And the 2000 version, she's just way more softer. But she is bold because she recommends the Grinch. She's like, why don't we the Grinch should be the holiday cheermeister. And then the mayor laughs and other people laugh, but she's like, that's the point of the holiday cheermeister. The Grinch is the perfect candidate for it. And then she goes up the mountain to visit the Grinch, to ask him to come to be the holiday cheermeister. What's also funny is that when she walks in, the Grinch he's the big monkey that's banging the cymbals. He's got his head in it. Actually, this might be the same scene as the thing when he's making all that noise just to get the singing to stop. That might be the same scene. But he puts his head there and he lets the cymbals bang his head. It's just banging on his head, banging on his head, banging on his head. And then she walks in and I forgot what she says. I think she just says Mr. Grinch or something like that. And then he hears it and he sits right up, and then he takes the cymbal hands and he holds it, and then the monkey toy basically breaks. It breaks and he's just sitting there straight up, and then he turns over and he sees this human little girl or human little who is in his little lair. I don't even get it, man. This movie is crazy. Like he's literally getting his head banged by the cymbals, and then she comes in, Mr. Grinch, and then he goes, "Wait a sec," and he looks over, and he's like, "Why is she here?" And then, as always, Cindy Lou Who's just unfazed by the Grinch, and like, dude, you're cool. Again, that's the you see Cindy Lou Who, and the Grinch is up in his lair. If I'm not mistaken, in the 2018 version, Cindy Lou Who does not go to the Grinch's lair. And also the Grinch isn't discriminated against in the 2018 version, where the 2000 version he is, right? And so you see these moments where it's just a stark difference in how they're approaching the Grinch, where the Grinch is just, he feels normal. He's just he's just an outsider that people really don't care or think much about. And because he's forgotten, right? He's forgotten in the 2018 version. He was left at a foster home. Nobody picked him up, and so he just moved out he just lived life on his own. Kind of similar to, no, not that similar to, the 2000 version. He was made fun of because of how he looked. And then I think he just left and then never came back down, if I'm not mistaken, in the 2000 version. So there's stark differences that, that I appreciate, especially for the crew with the 2018 version. I appreciate the stark difference because I'm like, dog, like you've got to make it just a little bit different. You can't, with all the hype, or not even hype, with all, with how iconic the 2000 version is, you just got to make it unique and got to make it different. So, 2000's Grinch, so good. Also, the Where Are You Christmas? Where Are You Christmas is one of the greatest Christmas songs of all time. Faith Hill slays the crap out of that song, and it's so wonderful. I also love listen to Cindy Lou Who version because it's so soft, and she's singing it, and it's not like perfectly in tune either, and it's just still like, I was like, oh, like she really cares about the heart of Christmas, and everybody else in Whoville just care about the presents and gifts, which is cool. And, again, that's another stark difference. I just noticed that the people in the 2000 version, they all care about the presents and the Christmas trees. Where in the 2018 version, they don't care when the Grinch steals all the Christmas trees and all that stuff. They don't care. They're like, man, Christmas is not about all that. Christmas is about the people and what's inside your heart. Where are you, Christmas? What a good song. What a good song. So, that's the Grinch, y'all. That is the Grinch. And if you have not watched that this season, you need to go and watch it. Right? You need to go and watch it. I can't remember. It might have been a couple years ago was the first time in a long time I had watched the Grinch. In like years. Right? I might go as far as to say the last time I watched it was, I don't know if I've watched it since my grandmother passed in 2012. It's been a long time since I watched The Grinch, y'all. It's been a long time. So, The Grinch, watch it. Watch How the Grinch Stole Christmas, the 2000 version, and watch the 2018 version, and go ahead and watch the classic. Gotta watch the classic, the ones that your parents, your grandparents grew up on. Go ahead and watch that and check that out. I might check that one out. Actually, I might not. We'll see. I don't know. A lot more movies to get to, a lot more movies to watch. You know what I'm saying? Polar Express, The Holiday, it's a Christmas Story. Like, we've got more coming your way on the Real Table podcast. Also, let me know what you think about the 2000s version of Grinch. Let me know what you think, and let me know your thoughts about my perspective on it. And also put in the chat and put in the comments what your favorite Christmas movies are. There's a couple more days, I think, before Christmas comes. I want to get in at least, I think, one more or two more episodes of Christmas movies, and I think I'm gonna have some people on too. So it's gonna be great. It's gonna be great. And we are slowly but surely approaching to the end of the year, and it's crazy. I don't know if I'm gonna do a top 10 list and the year list. We'll see. We'll see what I can get done and what I can watch in time, and maybe I can do a little episode on that. And then my hopes, or maybe I will do that, because I got hopes and visions and dreams for 2025. Looking at the film slate, I know Fandango released their top 10 list, which is agree to disagree. Actually, let's. I'm not gonna get too deep into that, but I could read a little bit on it. Fandango's top 10 list. It's interesting. It's an interesting list. Top 10 most anticipated: Captain America: Brave New World, number 1. Mission Impossible: The Final Reckoning, number 2. Jurassic World: Rebirth, number 3. From the World of John Wick: Ballerina, number 4. The Fantastic Four: First Steps, number 5. Avatar: Fire and Ash, number 6. Wicked Part 2, 7. The Accountant 2, 8. Give me 1 second. 9. Superman 10, 28 years later, which that is on my list to watch, at least the first one. 28 days later. So I don't completely agree with that. I'm just gonna tell you right now, I don't completely agree with that. I think what I would move around, I'm dropping Jurassic World Rebirth down a ways bit. Like, if I had to anticipate off of this list alone on these films right here, I would Jurassic World Rebirth is probably bottom 10. Period. I think I'm disappointed with the Jurassic World franchise as a whole. Since Jurassic World was the best out of all of them, and then ever since then, it's been going downhill. I won't debate it. I like dinosaurs, but I won't debate it. The Jurassic World franchise has been pretty disappointing. It's made the money. People have gone to see the movies, but the storyline and the actual quality of the films are pretty poor. So Jurassic World Rebirth, not really hype about that one. It can make the top 10. It might be 10. I might be more hyped than 28 years later, which I haven't seen. I haven't even seen the first one. I'm more hyped for that one than I am with Jurassic World Rebirth. That's just how I feel about it. Superman 1, Fantastic Four 2, Wicked Part 2, 3, Fire and Ash 4. It could be 3, but it's 4. 5, Mission Impossible, Final Reckoning. Then we go 6, Captain America: Brave New World. 7, Accountant. 8, From the World of John Wick: Ballerina. 9, 28, and 10, Jurassic World Rebirth. That feels right. Captain America being the most anticipated movie of 2025 from Fandango. I think people voted on it. It's weird. It's weird if fans did vote. Yeah, this is fan picks. It's fan picks. Weird to me. Personally, this is weird to me. After the success of Wicked Part 2, Wicked is way too low. Right? Wicked is way too low. Superman is also way too low. But I think that comes with the fact that people are unsure about DC. And I guess, I don't know why is Wicked so low as well. But hey, that's just what people voted on, I guess. It'll be interesting. 2024 or 2025, excuse me, will be interesting. Captain America, though, opens up in February, so that would probably be the first big movie of next year, which I can't wait to cover. And before then, we'll be sure to do. We got to do a Marvel roundtable again. It's time to get some people back on this podcast that have been in it, that have been on it recently, and that haven't been on it recently. We got to assemble the team, and we're going to get this because it's going to be a big year for Marvel. Big year for Marvel. All right. This has been a great episode talking about The Grinch with all of you. Don't forget to go in the comments. Tell me what your favorite Christmas movie is. Tell me your thoughts on Grinch 2018 version and 2000 version. Tell me your thoughts on all that. And other than that, I'll see you for the next episode, which is going to be the Polar Express. Also, I forgot to mention this. I don't know how I could have forgotten to mention this. Today, as I'm recording this, or earlier today, it was reported that Jim Carrey is open to doing the Grinch, another Grinch movie. I don't know what that means, but he says he's open to it. The comment was, he said because of technology, he probably wouldn't want to get in a suit again. He said, I probably wouldn't want to do that again, but with motion capture and with that technology, he would be open to another movie. I also read that he's also open to The Mask, doing another Mask movie, which some of you who know The Mask, that's a classic Jim Carrey movie. If the right story comes, is what I read. So we will see. I'm going to keep my eye on that stuff, but for what it's worth, Jim Carrey does not mind doing the Grinch again. He's open for it. So, all right, folks. Next episode will be the Polar Express. I'm excited about this movie. It's controversial. Some people hate it. Some people love it. I love it. Or do I? I'll let you know on the next episode of the Real Table Podcast. I love y'all. Y'all be safe out there. And I'll talk to y'all real soon. Peace. Once again, thank y'all so much for joining me today on the Real Table Podcast. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and even comment. I want to hear your thoughts and I want to hear your opinions. And don't forget to follow me on Instagram at The Real Table Pod and on Twitter at The Real Table. And don't forget to also check me out on therealtable.com for news, articles, and reviews. I will see y'all soon. Peace.